North Korea today has a nuclear warhead despite years of this.
This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program.
If North Korea makes the wrong choices, the United States and our partners in the six-party talks will respond accordingly.
North Korea was reminded that any provocation or aggression will be met by a strong, united response.
It's a crucial step toward drawing North Korea into the global community.
Multilateral diplomacy is the best way to peacefully solve the nuclear issue with North Korea.
North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs pose a grave threat to the peace and security of the world, and I strongly condemn their reckless action.
Former commander of the USS Cole, Kirk Lippold, says this new threat is the result of 30 years of failed policies. So what should we do now? Commander, we just showed people years and years, multiple moments where there was sort of this very soft talk or very, I guess, calm talk, but it's still a war of words. Yet how much has it changed with what President Trump said yesterday?
Well, I think there's been a fundamental shift. What you've heard over the last 30 years is administration after administration on both sides attempt through diplomatic and policy means to get North Korea to give up their nuclear program, to stop the pursuit of a nuclear weapon. And when you draw the bottom line, each of them has failed. We are now living in the United States with the threat in the next few months to within a year of a nuclear weapon being targeted at the west coast of the United States by a nation that wants to use it. It's the same as Israel putting it up with Iran. We should not tolerate this policy, and the key to it is going to be China.
Did we miss a huge opportunity? This is almost a rhetorical question, really. When it was in its infancy stages, the nuclear program in North Korea, why didn't, you just referenced Israel, why didn't we pull an Israel move like they did back in 1980 or so with Osirak, which was the Iraqi version of building up their nuclear plans and war, et cetera, like that? So the Israelis just came in and incinerated it in Iraq. They didn't wait. Did we miss a key window through all those years?
I think perhaps we did. I think that the United States, just like with terrorism and al-Qaeda, we're allowing the threat to build and build. And at this point in time, the United States needs to stop, take a look. And even though the president is using inflammatory language that, quite frankly, he should turn over to others to use, now is the time for concrete actions. I think we take a look at China. They're the ones that have aided and abetted North Korea to have this nuclear weapon and ICBM program because they've supported them economically, financially, technically, with industries that allow the trucks that the ICBMs launch from. So quite frankly, they're the key, and that's why we need to develop an in-depth, comprehensive set of sanctions that is targeting the Chinese people, because they're the ones that are allowing this to happen. The government is allowing it to happen, and we, quite frankly, can't afford to sit and wait for that targeting to occur here.
Yeah, the Chinese do not want an influx of refugees from North Korea, nor do they want a combined Korea that would be friendlier, certainly, and have a better bond with the United States than with China. But I want to bring up something that Neil Cavuto asked of General Kelly back when he was running the NSA, the Department of Homeland Security, rather. And listen to it, and then I'll ask for your response here about what has really changed.
Almost any provocative action he would take, guaranteeing a U.S. response, or even anything as threatening as launching a weapon on anyone, would mean his own certain demise, as well as most of this country and the peninsula. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a calculating kind of person. I mean, from this distance, we can't tell whether he's sane or not. I'd make my assumption that he's certainly self-centered, very, very interested in his own survival. But, you know, it's just like in the Cold War. When a country has a deliverable nuke, that changes how you deal with them, changes the equation.
And how about the fact, Commander, that he has come out, Kim Jong-un, with a direct threat to Guam. And, of course, Guam is a U.S. territory. There are more than 100,000 people on that island. And when you look at the proximity in the region, this is extraordinarily important. And any attack on Guam turns out to be an attack on the United States, correct? So is it really different now? And why then would Rex Tillerson, who back in March had very clearly said that the threat from North Korea, quote, is imminent, is he now saying it's not imminent?
I don't think he's saying it's not imminent. What he's saying is that the threat is not built to a point where we are going to need to fall to the last resort, which is going to be military action. I think he can still preserve the option where diplomatic sanctions can be put in, like I mentioned, across the spectrum. The blunt reality is the people in that region, South Korea and Japan, as well as the other Southeast Asian nations, are going to live with the consequences if the North Korean regime has to be toppled and their nuclear program destroyed through military action. We will need to build a consensus before we do it. It would be the best way to do it, but the bottom line is going to be the United States cannot be threatened by a country with nuclear weapons and stand idly by while that threat becomes a reality and the destruction of the United States could be imminent. We're talking an order of magnitude different from the 9/11 attacks. Don't let it build up like terrorism to the point where it comes here to the United States. We have to react ahead of time and take care of our national security interests first.
Commander Lippold, thank you for coming on. Your expertise is really valued. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.